In your city with them stoners, bend the corner, bend the corner. I'm in Portland in that foreign, that's a thong. Straight out the corner. Smoking loud from Seattle, supersonic. We on that loud. We been drinking, ain't no driver, Uber coming. Up out of cloud. On that moon rock, cause I'm a shooting coming. Cause I'm a star. I'm on that moon rock, so I be walking on it at the jar. In the country, out the country, I'm just country. Country grandma. Horsepower, make a nigga act a donkey. Catch me riding through your city, bend the corner, bend the corner. Every time I leave the bank, I bend the corner, I bend the corner. H-Town, A-Town, California. We on the block, burning gas, burning rubber, bend the corner. We bout to jump passing that gas, while my foot smashing that gas, and my car passing that ass. Got a Honda on my dash. Catch me riding through your city, bend the corner, bend the corner. Every time I leave the bank, I bend the corner, I bend the corner. In your city, bending corners, copping guns. Oh, where is that? I just drive through that corner like McDonald's. Pick up that sack. I just pull up on the mama like a mama. Kobe Bryant at a lunch, smoking gas. We be lunching. I got blue dot in my cup with a red dot in their head. When I came through the check, I made all them haters drop dead. I got hate like hell, and these watch like feds. About to kill that club, let that whole pocket like red. Catch me riding through your city, bend the corner, bend the corner. Every time I leave the bank, I bend the corner, I bend the corner. H-Town, A-Town, California. We on the block, burning gas, burning rubber, bend the corner. We bout to jump passing that gas, while my foot smashing that gas, and my car passing that ass. Got a Honda on my dash. Catch me riding through your city, bend the corner, bend the corner. Every time I leave the bank, I bend the corner, I bend the corner, bend the corner. Mic check, mic check. Allow us to reintroduce ourselves. We are the mob. M to the O-B. Memphis. Over. Bull. Live. Every Wednesday, 6 p.m. The voice of the people. We built it. And they have come. All right, y'all. Let me know. Chat mob in the building. Holler at me, man. Make sure. Can y'all hear me? You know, everybody coming in. Let me put the reminder up. You got a reminder. You know what I'm saying? We're talking SOULutions. Everybody coming in, make sure you hit the like button. I appreciate everybody doing that. The likes have gone up lately, as of late. Off me reminding you, brought that intro back. But yeah, SOULutions, right? Memphians. That's what we need. That's what we got to focus on. It's not just solutions, because it's all, you know what I preach here. Everything is internal. We're trying to rebuild ourselves. By rebuilding ourselves, ultimately, we rebuild the community. Focus on yourself. Primarily. That is the primary focus of things. Because, I mean, the word soul, right? That is associated with melanated people, right? Soul food, soul music. But it isn't actually just the food that makes it soul food. I believe the act is what actually makes it soul food, right? The fact that you probably wouldn't have gotten a meal had you not gotten that plate that you got from your friend's grandmother, your aunt, somebody, whoever. You had to appreciate that. All right, that is the main thing. So we're talking about SOULutions because, like I said, many things that we're seeing are just displays of the battle from within. All right, today's special guest coming in. Had a great show last week. Shout out to Memphis Dave. But this week we're doing something along the same lines. Great speaker, intelligent man, community leader, Dr. K. Brooks. Very active man, has a lot to add to the show. It's taught me a lot within doing this platform thing. We'll get into that. He'll be coming on soon. But yeah, let's talk about this. SOULutions, right? Because the thing about it, why I'm preaching about SOULutions, right? Let me tell you that. Because obviously we're going to have to be the ones to fix ourselves. The community has to fix itself, right? The main thing that I'm talking about is the current events everybody's talking about. Everyone wants me to address this with C.J. Davis and the police, Memphis Police Department, right? Yeah, she's been at it. I mean, Paul Young stands with her, right? He's standing in support of her, but the city council has made a vote. She got 6 out of 7 votes in her favor, or ultimately that means that they're not. But that was not the official vote. But I just wanted to elaborate on how everyone feels about keeping her as the police chief and Paul Young standing behind her. And we'll talk to Dr. Brooks about that, see how he feels about that within the community and what influence it plays, but how the city council reacted to that. Also, yes, there's a lot of things within this situation with C.J. Davis. With the ordinance that was passed, and she's not the only one. Mayor Strickland didn't enforce the ordinance that was passed for Tyree Nichols, where they couldn't pull you over, right? Pretextual police stops, right? That was ended. But it was never signed off by the mayor, Mayor Strickland. We'll get to that, but now Paul Young supports it. Well, without further ado, let me get to the first story, though, all right? The main story, Police Chief C.J. Davis had a little spill in court. Well, not court, but within the city council, before the city council. Let's get to it.
All right, there are more people in the U.S. this year than last year. The U.S. Census Bureau says close to 336 million people were in the country at midnight on New Year's Day. The projected world population sits at just over 8 billion people. Officials say that number is a result of a combination of births, deaths, and migration every 24 seconds.
Oh.
2 Tennessee cities are seeing...
Forgive me, guys. It's been a long night.
The future of Memphis Police Chief C.J. Davis is in question tonight after a city council committee votes against her reappointment. Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Greg Hurst.
Hi, I'm Stephanie Skurlock. That decision sets the stage for a vote that could create a leadership vacuum at a department struggling with record crime. WREG's Shay Simon has the latest on the drama unfolding downtown.
Will C.J. Davis remain Memphis Police Chief? That is the question for the Memphis City Council members tonight.
What we do know now is this council is extremely concerned about the number of homicides we're seeing, about the number of auto thefts if this item fails.
Council Chair J.B. Smiley says now that Davis's reappointment has failed a committee vote, he believes the council is ready for a new direction.
We can't simply do things the way we've always done and expect different results.
The narrow vote, along with clearly opposing signs waving in the crowd, showing the clear divide on who should lead Memphis Police.
We created 125 much-needed first-line supervisor positions.
Before the vote, Davis presented her vision and accomplishments since her tenure as the first black police chief in 2021 under former Mayor Jim Strickland. The meeting quickly got heated.
It's unfortunate that I'm defending myself because of the fact that I'm not a liar. I don't have to be a liar.
All right. Now, here's my thing with this, Miss Davis, right? This is not the time to play victim, man. There is something that happened on your watch that you have to take accountability for. As much as we want to see our sisters and everyone get their pay and be successful and be great, this is about accountability, and I think it starts here with her. Like, that was your unit. They were under your watch and your leadership, so we have to. But that's the question I'll pose to y'all. How much of the blame does the police chief play in what happened with Tyree Nichols and many of the things that go on within the city? Are these cops operating on their own merit, or are they being influenced by their superiors, right? That's what we got to focus on.
I'm trying to work to make sure that our police department rises to another level.
Those who voted against Davis mentioned the increase in crime and violence across the city, including a new FBI probe and lawsuit following the death of Tyree Nichols.
Right now, I firmly believe that we have the right person. I stand behind.
Despite Mayor Young's backing, the future of MPD is still unclear. In Memphis, Shay Simon, WREG News, Channel 3.
And this.
All right. So is that the solution to the crime that everyone's saying? I wouldn't think that is not the solution to things. But I understand, support Paul Young. It can be a difficult thing being a new mayor and having to appoint a new chief of police, right? Very, very, that's a large thing, large load for our young mayor. But nevertheless, it would be a good sign, early sign of things for our city right now and for our community. All right. Right. Oh yeah, I want to say to this too, right? Make sure we're bringing the Green Book back. We're bringing the Green Book back, right? You all know the Green Book. I'll try to find a link to share that. We have all Black business owners to fill out the application. We're gonna make a publication that we're gonna pass around. I know you can't be the only show in town. It may be plenty of plumbers and plenty of mechanics, but we'll all know that these are Black-owned businesses, and that's our way of trying to unite the Black dollar, right? It'll be an easy publication because we know a lot of businesses, but it's hard to know. The Yellow Pages won't show you this, all right? But we'll make sure that we do. And I want to say thank you to everyone who signed up previously for the Green Book. And I know we did a show about it, and the foundation of it was to keep, it was a way of melanated people to stay safe and know that certain locations when they traveled on the road that they could go to and get service, because there was a time when we didn't get service at all. But now it seems that we go everywhere. Everyone wants us because the Black dollar, the power of the Black dollar. We're all welcome nowadays. But we know it was a point in time where that was a problem. Right. Memphis Dave. What's up, brother? Great to have you in. All right, so Taj, you know what it is. You know what it is. All right. And it's I understand this because many people are upset with the events that transpired on the CJ Davis watch. But we know how to protest the wrongs, right? But we also got to learn how to support the rights, right? There's the yin and the yang of the two, right? It's not just focus on the negative things and the people that we don't want. We have to learn how to support the people that we do want and the people that are doing the things that we expect our community to do, right? So it's just two sides to that, because we all know how to protest, but we have to support the right things, just like we protest the wrong things. I don't think that's really being said in our community. We know how, hey, shut it down. We need to shut them down. That's quick, but we also got to learn how to build them up, right? Right, that's the thing to do, right? Can't learn one without the other. All right. Also, today, Memphis' population is decreasing, right? 5%. The things that transpired with the Tyree Nichols. Yeah, it happened around the same time. It was a year before. Prior to that, decreased a lot. But after that, decreased even more. The thing about it, though, to take note of, all of the surrounding cities in Tennessee are growing. And what does this lead to? Because you know us, the idea of us in the hood is to, man, you get out the money, you want to make it, you got to get out the hood. And then I'm talking about myself. The idea was always to leave, right? Always, that's making it, leave the hood. All right, so, and that was the story that you all saw before. Everybody coming in, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe, hit the share, and I'll be bringing in Dr. Brooks in a second to elaborate on some of the things we're already talking about and many of the things we've already been talking about here for months. Anyway, let's get to this story next, right? The population decrease in Memphis.
All right, there are more people in the U.S. this year than last year. The U.S. Census Bureau says close to 336 million people were in the country at midnight on New Year's Day. The projected world population sits at just over 8 billion people. Officials say that number is a result of a combination of births, deaths, and migration every 24 seconds. Two Tennessee cities are seeing their populations grow. That's in Clarksville and Murfreesboro. The company's Smart Asset looked at populations from 2017 to 2022. And listen to this. Clarksville saw a 15% growth in population. Murfreesboro, though, had the most growth with a 19% jump. Memphis was the only city ranked in the top 30 that saw its population drop.
Yeah, Clarksville, 15%. Murfreesboro, my old stomping grounds, my old school. Shout out to Middle Tennessee State University, 19%. Incredible. Yeah, do you all see what's happening here? Food deserts, people desert now, right? Do you see what's happening? When we all move away and we leave this prominent land, Memphis. Think about it. Think about it, the big picture, right?
It's down almost 5%. In Nashville and Chattanooga, the population went up about 3%. Stefano, over to you.
It's just something to take note of. I don't think many people, that wasn't on the local news. That was on the Nashville news. All right, and I want to touch on before we can move on. Show is SOULutions, right? And it's talking about healing from within. So the way that Voodoo Village, the name, was brought about was due to him, right? And he was some people call a witch doctor or whatever. But, that idea, they use these things as fear tactics. We fear our own. We fear many things that could help us. But, we're not afraid of the medical doctor in the white coat who gives us medicine that kills us all. Anyway, well, he got known as Voodoo Village because people go see all of the blood, or not, I'm not going to say blood, animals or whatever rituals that I even myself don't truly understand, and I'm trying to get a better understanding of. But people didn't understand, and they put a negative connotation on him, right? They said that he was a voodoo doctor or whatnot, and that's how he got the name. But this man, his teachings were of Jesus Christ and of the Bible. All right. And I just think that's a disconnect with everyone being fearful of voodoo, witchcraft, all of these things. I'm not going to say witchcraft, but, voodoo dolls, whatnot, things that go back to our motherland. It's just more, not even things that just go back to us, just fear tactics. Whatever we're afraid of controls us. And I think a lot of things can get uncovered if we just go back to our roots and understanding our history, and you'll understand that many of these things that you deem maybe even demonic or evil, right, are not what you were taught to be. Those things were taught to you because you were taught to be fearful of the things that could really help you and help our own kind. So I want everyone to think about that. There's a name I've never heard about it. We're going to do more about that next week. Washington, Doc Harris, his nephew, took over his area for, but that's the reason behind Voodoo Village. And I used to be afraid to go there. And we used to go there on Halloween when I was a kid, when I was 16, and we'd jump out the car. Like, wow, Voodoo Village, man, people around here. We thought spells were being cast on us, which we know who's really casting spells in America right now. Anyway, that is what I want to mention. I got one more, and we're going to bring in Dr. Brooks and let him elaborate on some of the things. I got one more story, because there's something about the, going back to the CJ Davis situation, right? I'm wrapping back around. I hope I'm not hopping around too much. But yeah, right. Okay, so we know about the Tyree Nichols ordinance, right? No pretextual traffic stops. All right. Your mayor, Jim Strickland came out publicly and said, hey, guys, all right, no more pretextual traffic stops, right? He agreed to it. We're going to pass it, and this got passed. That was an understanding of all Memphians, right? Little did we know, he didn't pass anything. He didn't enforce anything. And people have still been getting stopped for minor traffic stops, I myself included. So I got pulled over for my tag cover being a little too dark is what the police officer told me. But I'm like, hey, aren't pretextual traffic stops over? Now, CJ Davis said, hey, I've been enforcing it. See, there's something else there. See what I'm saying? Something's trending here. Why is it? Well, you can't always be the victim, ma'am. And trust me, I'm in all support of all sisters getting their money, getting the bag, because ultimately that helps our community as a whole. But I'm also about accountability. And that's the main thing that we need more of, because it's Memphis. Over. Boo. All right? Let me bring up one more story. Let me get to it. But yeah, it's just accountability, myself included. And all of these things are not about picking on somebody or just, making it like you're better than anybody. These things pertain to myself too. Most of the things I'm talking to myself is a reflection of myself. Because like I say, we build ourselves up. You eat better. You sleep better. You live better. Ultimately, we make our community better. It's my last thing before we go to the store. I want you all to become everything that you want your community to be. All right? That's how I feel. I hold myself to that. Everything that I want my community to be of people, I myself start. I do. All right? How can I expect anything out of anybody else if I'm not practicing it myself? All right? So I just want that. That is something, that's a standard that we should have amongst ourselves, right? Make sure y'all hit the like and subscribe. Hit the like coming in. All right. Every 6 p.m. All right. She is tripping. All right. City Council.
Mayor Paul Young wasting
CJ
no time
Davis.
getting started on his crime fight and everything he plans to do with that, launching a public safety task force that he brought at everybody in front of the cameras from city, state, federal level to talk about what are we going to do here? How are we going to get a handle on this? Among some of the things that came out after this very first meeting, a better database on repeat offenders, fast-tracking violent crimes from the DA's office, cracking down on organized crime from the feds, seizing cars in drag races, possible legislation we can expect at the state capitol this year, making it a felony for having a stolen weapon, another piece of legislation we're expecting this year, and enforcing the Tyree Nichols ordinances, which was an interesting back and forth we'll talk about. In his remarks, the mayor made the following comment, which I think shows he understands the gravity of this. He said, we also want to keep the urgency high. People have heard me use this word before. We are at a point right now where we are in a tipping point for our community. We are either going to elevate or we are not. And my firm belief is we will elevate, and how we will do it is being unified. A message he preaches over and over again, and he's got to, the way I see it. But one thing that came out over the course of this, and I'll let you start with this one, Catherine, was we learned that Jim Strickland did not enforce or sign off on the Tyree Nichols ordinances that were involved, and then Paul Young says he separated himself from the former mayor, saying, I will be signing off of those. And Chief CJ Davis saying before the cameras, to clarify, I've been pretty much enforcing them since they were passed, whether or not this former mayor had signed up.
All right, so that's the question, right? That is the question. How are people still being pulled over if you're enforcing it? It's like, don't blame me, but you're the chief of police. You got to get blamed. In basketball and football and professional sports, period, the coach gets blamed, even though he's not on the court. They're under your direction and your leadership. All right? It's just, like I said, accountability.
it was a focal point of one of your stories on MLK50.com. Talk about that.
I know I and quite a few other people, readers, sources, were not surprised to hear that Mayor Strickland had not enforced the ordinances. What did surprise us was that he said so in a letter to the City Council 3 days before ending his term. Just straight up said, my administration, of which C.J. Davis is a part, has not been enforcing these ordinances. So that story came out.
That's not a good look, brother. I mean, that's all I'm saying. Like I said, the same thing I expect out of myself, I expect out of my community. And that I wouldn't even allow myself to do something like that. If I tell you that I'm doing something, guarantee that I expect myself to do it. Same that goes for everyone else, not just people in leadership. I expect that out of everyone in our community that's trying to help and rebuild. It's the only way we can change things. All right? Can't just let people off the hook because they seem like they tell me they're nice people. It's all about the act. Like I told you can't be an activist without activity. Where's the action?
Paul Young later said he would enforce them, and then Chief Davis said that they had been enforced, which is certainly a little bit confusing considering she was a part of Strickland's administration. What I will say on C.J. Davis saying that they were enforced, we know at least some of them have not been enforced. One of the ordinances required the collection and publication of data within 6 months. That did not happen. We do not have that data. The City Council does not have that data, does not have that report. Another one was, of course, no longer allowing pretextual traffic stops for low-level offenses. We've heard a lot of anecdotal information of people, including a friend of mine, who have been pulled over for pretextual traffic stops, things like a busted bumper or one broken light. So those things have not been enforced. So it'll be interesting to see going forward, are we actually going to get a report? Are we actually going to see pretextual stops decrease?
All right, running.
I mean, I understand. All right. We do have a law. You have to abide by the law. But, I mean, bro, we have many issues besides a broken headlight off. I understand that there, you should get your headlight fixed, but enforcing these things, man, where is our direction? What does that do for the community? And that's why I always say we have to police our own community. And we should have our own policing our community also. So I'll play a little bit more of this, and then we're going to bring in Dr. Brooks.
Running tight on time, but I do want to bring up the issue of Chief C.J. Davis, who is the new mayor's nominee to continue on as the top cop for the city of Memphis. And Sam Hardiman, a frequent guest on this program with the Daily Memphian, out with the story. He polled everybody on the city council and found only 2 of them are on board with keeping her and voting in favor of her staying on as top cop. Otis, what's your take on that?
Well, I mean, I think maybe to give them the benefit of the doubt, I think they're just holding their cliche here, but they're holding their cards to the vest and they just don't want to say. I do believe.
All right, I just wanted to play that. We'll get to that. All right, last point. All right, so right now, the number of police, right, on the force, black and white, we have 52% of the Memphis Police Department is black. 47% of Memphis Police Department is white, right? Now, you think about that. I just want you all to know the numbers speak for themselves. I don't have to say much. You also know that the population count of black people is 64% of Memphis is black and 26.5% is white. Yet, 47% of Memphis Police Department is white. Police your own community because you have others that are from your community policing, and we have all of these things. Now, I understand what happened with our own policing with Tyree Nichols, but for the most part, those dudes can't represent our community because as of now, those cops represent black police officers from Memphis. They're the face of that until we change it. It's up to us, our community. I just want to make that point because I'm sure Dr. Brooks can hear me. I want to know what he thinks of that as well as we get ready to bring him on right now. All right, so this is a great man of many talents and abilities. Went to Howard University, Lamar Owen College, just many universities as a scholar. North Memphis raised, philosophy professor, pastor, political organizer, great man, father, overall Memphian. You already know who we support the mob, Dr. K. Brooks. How you doing, Dr. Brooks?
Man, I'm blessed and highly favored. How are you, brother?
I'm great, brother. I'm great, brother. Great to have you on the show. You know, we didn't even mention the radio part. It's just, we got to make it in, man, So, what did you, is there anything that you want to add to that? Because I know it's so, like, we only got 30 minutes or whatnot,
Oh, man, I can shoot from the dome, but thank you for having me. Of course, I'm the host of the Rainbow Push Hour on the WLOK radio station, the oldest and longest Black-owned radio station in the city of Memphis. And so I do a show 6 p.m. on Sunday. So you're going to see Ryan, Brother Ryan has been on. You're going to be seeing him more on the Rainbow Push Hour. Also host Let's Talk Law, where I basically make sure you understand your right as a citizen, to make sure that you don't be one of these people that say, I don't need no lawyer. And the truth of the matter is that a person who does not see the value of the law, ignorance of the law is no excuse. So bottom line, that's a major issue. But speaking of law, speaking of shows, man, you've had a lot of great bullet points on here, man. I just about it. But first and foremost, thank you for having me. And we're going to be doing a lot of conversations together, because I love MOB, right? I like we're in on really breaking down the bull. And I because as a scholar, man, as an ethnographic researcher born and raised in North Memphis, I know the streets and the suites. I've been in all of the rooms, and just a guy from North Memphis. So excuse me, I hope I don't embarrass you with my my intellectual colloquialisms, my North Memphis, man, colloquialism.
I love it, man. We love it.
I got a whole a whole scale of how I might flow. But foremost, I love the topic, man. I love the theme, SOULution, right? And I can't think about the late great W.E.B. Du Bois, who made a point to talk about that a path towards progress for African American political power and education and enfranchisement hangs on us being able to know ourselves and do for ourselves. And as you indicated, we must police our own neighborhood. But part of our inability to police our own neighborhood is we have a problem with who we are. And so if an enemy say that's voodoo and voodoo is bad, and we don't know the history of voodoo, we don't know the history of Black nationalism, we don't know the history of the Maroons, we don't know the history of African religions and philosophies and ideas, it makes us live antithetical to our existence. When we live antithetical to our existence, it's easy for us to be co-opted. It's easy to be subjected or subjugated, right? And so that leads us to the whole conversation on C.J. Davis. I'm going to hit all of your bullet points, if I may.
Yeah, go ahead, man. Hey, Dr. Brooks, go ahead. The floor is yours, brother. I'm listening. I'm a fan. Go ahead.
So you're doing this thing about C.J. Davis, and I was at the city council meeting on yesterday. And so again, I'm going to create this conceptual framework, because I think our problem is if we don't have a conceptual framework for how we see the world. And I'm working on an essay called Black Politics of Memphis in a post-segregated Tennessee, right? And so we had W. Harrington, who was our first mayor, and you had that was a long time, and now you had this white mayor, and now you had this Black mayor. And so before I get to C.J. Davis, you got to have some context. But let me give you a little context about C.J. Davis as the top in the police department. But you got to know the history of policing in America. See, Black folks have always been illegal, right? You always had a broken window. You always had broken. Your agency is to be broken, and the whole police department is anchored on subjugation of you. So nothing has really changed. So when you talk about whether keeping or not keeping or letting go C.J. Davis, that's not the real issue. The real issue is that we got to understand what's happening from a lens of Black power. But again, if you get taught that voodoo is bad and it's evil and it's demonic, you don't really understand the culture of it. So we're more likely to throw away our people. We're likely to see that the major issue that Memphis is having is having a reckoning. It is having a reckoning because it has not invested in the infrastructure of Memphis for the past 40, 50 years, right? What you said is key about, we grow our young people, but we tell them to move away. As soon as I graduated from West Side High School, which is closed down, and where I grew up is totally dilapidated. It's respectfully, it looks like a third world country because of disenfranchisement disrespect, a deindustrialization that occurred all in North Memphis. That's a whole nother story. But I'm getting to C.J. Davis. Now, when I was growing up in Memphis, in North Memphis, and in Scutterfield and Bigfoot, you know, we had Jack Owens and the Jump Out Boys, right? And we was those guys, you know, we was nice on 7th Street, all around there, and we was just, you know, cultivated to be to engage in criminality, right?
Right.
I had a disorienting dilemma. You know, all young black boys have to have a rite of passage. Just little black girls, what they gonna do? Because if our schools don't work in preparing us to engage in the local economy to increase the local economy's GDP, what am I saying? Simply, that if the curriculum is not about economic development, it's about the criminalization.
Right.
And so we so many of our young people engage in criminalization when your schools do not work, when you take away youth development, when you take away all assets. You're saying, okay, I'm not going to invest in young people, but I'm going to invest in police. And when I invest in police, I am saying I'm investing in police not to serve and protect the citizens of Memphis, but to police and patrol the citizens of Memphis. Because the fundamental issue since the Civil War in Memphis, even in 1968 on the death of Martin Luther King, is the Great Reckoning. What must we do with these Negroes?
Right. I'm gonna say this. I want to say one thing, Dr. Brooks, because and a friend of mine and myself. I don't know if you're watching. You know who I'm talking to. Shout out to you. I ain't gonna put you on the spot like that. But he says that there was never a plan for melanated people, black people in America post-slavery. They never had a plan for us. You know, there was never a plan for us to be great people, great American citizens. I just wanted to touch on that. The plan, you know, like you said, we've always been under different circumstances than any other American citizens, right?
Right. But that leads me back to the point of W.E.B. Du Bois. So we may need to do a book talk on the souls of black folks, because black folks have always had their own power. They've always had their own plan. And when you go back and understand that black folks have always had their own plan of empowerment, you would see and understand why the People's Grocery had to be destroyed and Thomas Moss and Calvin McDowell had to be lynched, because they was fostering black enterprise. And what happens in our community is, without education, there is no economic possibilities.
Right.
And so we educated ourselves, right, from a perspective of the voodoo, right? And so, because I don't run away from that term, you know, you can say melanated and black or whatever.
We know, right? It's one thing. It's the same. I just used that.
No. I get it. I get it. But that speaks to one of our challenges. We are constantly trying to identify ourselves, which, you know, fundamentally is a problem politically in a country that it has its roots in groups leveraging for their interests, i.e. the white Anglo-Saxon Protestant, i.e. the Catholic, i.e. you know, the Irish. And so that's just the nature of the country. But black folks have always been unapologetically American. And they understood, as Thomas Jefferson said, that the institution of slavery is likened to a man holding a wolf by the ears. Ultimately, you're going to have to let that wolf go. Right. And that wolf go, you're going to have a police department. Right. So let's get to C.J. Davis. Right. You know, that was my historical context. Now, C.J. Davis worked for Mayor Strickland. Mayor Strickland said, I am King Strickland. I don't give a darn about what no city council has to say about no ordinances. It clearly indicated to us just where he stood. And the thing is, if he didn't have term limits, he would still be your king. I mean, I'm sorry, your mayor. So the conversation is really not about C.J. Davis, because anybody who's been in leadership, and I've been in leadership, whether it is a principal, whether it's a superintendent, I understand those are middle level management jobs, right? That you work at the pleasure of, as a principal, your superintendent. And there's a lot of political behavior and dynamics that goes on, even as a pastor. I can come into a church and I can say, okay, some say, don't move that, don't do that, because it automatically causes some situations or some infractions. And so, but ultimately, as you said, the buck starts with the leader, but ultimately it does not, because a good leader has to do a power analysis. Just because you call top cop don't mean you are the top cop. Just because you call chief don't mean that you are the chief. And so what we see in a culture where just because you my color don't mean that you my kind, means that everybody is afraid. Everybody afraid, including black folk. Black folk have been taught to hate themselves and hate voodoo and all this other stuff. So you have all this crime and everybody is afraid, such to the extent we tell our young people to go somewhere else and make cities.
Right, that's promoted.
DC made it great. I went to Baltimore, made it great. I went to Chicago, made it great. And as I retired, I'm saying I'm going back home to make Memphis great, because when I grew up, Memphis was a great city. But interesting enough, it was led by Mayor Dick Hackett, and it has always been run by white folks. Now, you had your white mayor.
Right.
And now the question is, the historic question is, can black people govern black folk? Right.
Man, it's a lot here. Right. It's a lot here. Right.
Go ahead.
I'm saying there's so much, man. You're making such a great point about the fact of how we got here. That we have a black mayor, black chief of police.
Young black mayor.
Young black mayor.
Was not qualified.
Right.
Now, I can go in and show you so many white mayors. Bill Clinton was younger than Paul Young when he got ready, when he was governor and mayor, but only black folk would try to put us on a boy schedule, because that's that whole, again, self-hatred voodoo thing that we set up us. And so we got to play this little boy schedule. No, Paul Young is qualified. So he says, no, he understands the dynamics. You know, he has wide counsel from his mom. He has wide from his late father. So he's navigating, he's saying some stuff, and he's saying that, hey, a specialized units are nothing, that is nothing new in the police department. So whether Davis did it in Atlanta or whatever, it's nothing new, right? We know rogue police officers, we got rogue folk in our community. And so those brothers, and I unapologetic say those brothers who beat and beat and murdered Tyree Nichols, they're irresponsible. But we also are responsible when we have this culture where we turn our head from the broken headlights, right? When we lower our expectation and accountability about how we are supposed to be the first responders to our community, right? Not the police department. So we know folk in our communities who are terrorizing our community, right? But when there's this overall sense of fear, the mayor said, clean them streets up by any means necessary. By any means necessary. And the problem is that when black folk don't vote and they don't see themselves a part of the process, then that 47, not 47, that 20% of white folk who have economic power, who are voting, they saying strictly, we want something done. And I'm gonna call my top cop. You need to fix this right now, or you're gonna lose your job. So I want to have some leadership context and a whole bunch of stuff as we create a hodgepodge of soul solutions. That's the beauty of black folks.
Right, the soul, man. That's us. It's soul, right? Soul brothers. That's us. But I mean, man, you made so many great points with that about just accountability, right? And us like lowering the standards and us knowing who's terrorizing our own communities, right? I mean, that's something we have to figure out here. Like, we have to figure out, who do we trust as a community and what standards. Like, you can't think that all police officers are bad. You can't think every church is bad. You can't think every person is bad from any walk of life. Like, we had these negative, mindsets about certain things in our community that could help us. And many people from our community are part of this. So, like, how do we get away? That's why I'm so trying to bring about so much positive things about our platforms and how many people we have doing these positive things in our community. How do we get away from the negative that's associated with the police officers? Because we're going to need some kind of trust, or do we?
Well, police officers so first we got to change our mentality, how we see ourselves, right? We got to see good, because black folk are good. We good folk. We're good folks. So police aren't placed to serve and protection. They are supposed to be our guardians. They are supposed to, serve us. They are supposed to protect us, because we know people who are going to do things that break the law. What's breaking the law? And see, the core fundamental of faith, and I'm unapologetically a black pastor. I love the Lord. I love Jesus. Jesus is all about accountability. Jesus is about applying tension and responsibility to take ownership of our community. I don't care what you said, but it's about loving God with all the heart, that soul, and our mind, and loving our neighbor as they self, and always giving everybody a checkup from the neck up, right? race having a positive attitude and perception about living. But if you black, you told you're supposed to be negative. And if I see somebody look like me, I'm automatically going to hate myself because now my God has been told my God is white now. And so if I've been told black is voodoo, then I'm going to hate myself. Right. So I come out of the womb with a negative perception about life and a woe is me victim mentality. I need somebody to subjugate me. And it gives permission for white folks to say, we got liberal white folks at that to go in and save the Negroes because they need our help.
Right. And I want to say this. I want to touch on that last line, but I want to say shout out to you two being a pastor and having the knowledge of knowing about what voodoo is, like how you know how that whole, well, you know how I know how you are. I know you know about these things, but I'm saying it's just having to understand it. Knowledge is power. And it's what we fear. And the things he's like, that just makes you more of a, complete person. Right. A holy man, a whole man, right?
Yeah. But you gotta be mindful again when I talk about the South, right? And the South is the Bible Belt, right? And if I can control your theology and so much of a gospel or virtue of ethics is around about the spiritual law that I see my brother and my sister as myself as an extension of myself, right? And I'm not gonna try to preach to you, but the law ain't gonna support. The law is not gonna help you. And what happens is I've been through the Citizens Police Report. They are reactionary. They wait on crime. But the more important issue while we're talking about crime, we need to be talking about education. Don't miss my first point. Without education, there is no economic possibility. Right? So let's look at the fact that if we go now, we see the challenges with getting a school superintendent, right? That's going over. If you go, you can get a new chief of police. Nothing is going to change because you still have a low wage, no benefit, sharecropping economy where black folks work for temporary agencies.
Right.
Have not been working. The young people have not been put in a place of position of power. The youth development centers, the recreation centers are closed, and we still waiting on a white savior. And so, that's the bull, right?
Definitely the bull.
We got to follow the law. And what's the law? The law is love and validation and accountability, and deal with the broken windows theory. The broken windows theory is that if we have low expectation, we accept the fact we're supposed to have potholes. We accept the fact that we're supposed to have vacant houses. We expect the fact that we're supposed to have trash around the windows. Now, going to the Tyrese Nichols, we don't want people, just pulling people over because you don't have anything to do, because you pulling folk over because you presume they already did a crime, right?
Right.
Because lies and stuff go out. But when we have a disproportionate number of people who are driving illegal or no insurance, a lot of other stuff, that's real. But it also speaks to the fact that there's a problem with our GDP. There's a problem with our economy.
Yes.
You have to be, as your boy, I can't think of, chameleon or something, driving dirty or riding dirty, right?
Right.
It feeds our criminal justice system. So we got a whole bunch of problems, man. But I say we got to change our perspective by how we are looking at these lands. And just don't be so easy to think that we say, let's get rid of this person, get rid of that person, because it's just really moving folk around. And the truth of the matter, there's an unseen hand that's controlling all of it.
Right. And that's something else I was talking about. I think I said on 2 weeks ago, Memphis is an experiment, and I don't think people really see how big of it is, right? And this is the start of it because we are a predominantly black city. And that's something I want you to say, that you talked about how poverty affects us. That's why I was trying to get, I'm like, if the mindset of somebody when you don't know where your next $500 is coming from, right? And rent is increasing, man. Inflation is real, even in Memphis, right? So I just how do we expect these people, not these people, our people, to make it when the average black household makes $42,000 in Memphis, and the average white household makes $74,000? Average black median for income is, I think, $26,000. Like, how do you expect somebody to make it on that? You're creating criminals or a crime-infested environment when you know people want a better life for themselves. Not saying that they have to do these things.
Right. Remember what I said, again, I had a clear opportunity, right? Growing up in North Memphis, to engage in the underground economy. right? I grew up. I was in the '80s as a teenager, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's when crack hit, man. We was riding our mopeds. We were going, you know, I was 16 years old, going in club, no name, with big old gold chains on, balls.
Yeah.
It was the bowl bands, a lot. You know, that stuff is new. It was violence everywhere, right? And you know, again, you know, I had some disorienting dilemmas, but that was our reality, right? But if you start taking out trades and check this out. Just think, when I was in school, it was the beginning of the computer software age, right? Just think in 1975, 1980, right? If all of the Memphis City schools at that particular time had state-of-the-art computers that were anchored in some of the private schools in the same place all around the country, and that it would immediately engage young people in where we will be in 2024. I hope you understanding what's going on. That you have a curriculum, not just saying, okay, just go to college. Go to college for what? Go to create schools, a curriculum that says to a student what they must know and be able to do to grow the city of Memphis. Don't say, okay, go leave Memphis and go great. No, you are already great. Cultivate the greatness that exists within the city of Memphis. So if our school's failing, the police is going to be failing, right?
Right.
There are no homes, and everybody is renting, right? Because there are no real ownership. You know, I grew up in North Memphis. The name of Greenlaw and her village has been changed to Uptown. With no disrespect, you know, hey, look, that's just gentrification. There's no more South Memphis. There is South Side. We like that. It's okay, but it's not really okay because people have been displaced, right? And they have not been given the opportunity to cultivate where they have been living for the past 20, 30, and 40 years. So a lot of these issues are still rooted in what happens in 1968. Martin Luther King's birthday is getting ready to come up. We really still don't understand it, and we really still have not dealt with the fact that he was murdered in the city of Memphis, and the city of Memphis police department was complicit in that, right? A cloud still hangs over the Memphis, but here's our problem. Memphis has a municipality mentality and a scarcity mentality. And you know, so it's been labeled the city of the dead because we think that we are the voodoo getting us, right? The voodoo getting us, right? And so until we start to address this, no, it ain't about no CJ Davis. It's about how we go back and take back our community. So that's what we're doing at Providence African Methodist Episcopal Church. That's what we're talking about on Rainbow Push Hour. That's what we're doing with the AME Ministerial Alliance. We're about that life, right?
Right.
But we need people to kind of engage in a system of code of care where we will not let folk divide us at such a time as this.
Right.
While we got a young black mayor who's at the helm. And if we don't own him, if we don't take possession and ownership of him, we are saying to somebody else with their own economic interest to take ownership of him.
Right.
And Memphis has this challenge of cronyism and fraternalism and Negroism, right?
Right.
It hits us against one another.
Right.
But we gotta engage everybody. Nobody is excusable in being accountable and responsive. And so we have a tendency of romanticizing criminality in our city. You know, this Memphis, you know, we get bucked. Yeah, we get bucked. Our spirit. It's mean that it don't mean that we're lawlessness. We're lawless, right? Because we still have mothers and grandparents saying, no, shame on you. We don't do that. You done lost your rabbit mind, right? But we are totally out of control right now. And the police can't do that. The police is supposed to serve and protect us and follow the law. But when we see Pookie and Shanae and with them, we got to check them, right? And again, for checking, you know, I'm ready to go to heaven. Get on the front line and say, no, you ain't doing this right here. In my church, ain't no dope dealer gonna be sold in 1 mile radius, right? You cannot do it, right? But I'm in Baltimore, Chicago, and Memphis, and so we got to take back our community. Police is not going to save us. The mayor can help us because he's the chief executive of the city, and all politics is local.
Right. I say he can help. I always say that he can help the people. The people want the mayor. The people want to help the mayor. No, it's not. No, the mayor. It's our city.
Well,
right?
but no, it's not ours unless we vote, right? Because
That's true.
that percentage you talked about, most of Mayor Paul Young's support financially didn't come from black folk.
That's politics, and I don't think we understand.
No. Politics, the politics of power.
Power. Okay.
Those people want power in the executive
Right,
branch.
but we don't understand any of that to know that, hey, I'm the one that funded your campaign, right? Now that you're in office, hey, my son has this shoveling company that does detailing. Now that you need detailing done through the city, that's how they get 74% of the contracts dealt by the city is a favor done for a favor by a favor by a favor because I funded your campaign.
But Brother Ryan, here's the bull, right? We have systems in place that were in when King Strickland was in office, right? That talks about minority contracts. Now, this is what some of our white Republicans will say. Hey, it exists. You Negroes are not following the process. You're not going in to make the bids. You're not legitimizing yourself because we're used to doing the hustle, right? So we got to move from the hustle mentality to shift ourselves and make sure we get an LLC or incorporate a sole proprietor. We got to legitimize ourselves because we got taxpayers' money, right? And we're having public-private partnerships, right? That we want to engage in the city to build the local economy. But if all of our thing is rapping, and we create some great rappers, and
right?
You know, we can create other transportation companies, right? Look at Pitt Hyde and Fred Smith, right?
Right.
We grew up, folk was building on cars and doing certain types of stuff.
Right.
We need to put more engineering and engineering and science, tech, and math and real liberal arts in our schools. Get the arts and stuff back into our schools, right? But the sports, quality music. If music is the music city, you would think that the local city would make sure we got a $10 million budget to cultivate the musical gifts and our talents. But where your treasures are, there will your heart be also. But y'all Negroes don't go to church because you think church is voodoo.
See, that's what I'm saying. That's why I'm saying. Right. It was no shot at the church. I just don't know that.
No.
Right.
You know what I'm talking about.
Right. I know what's up. Because that everything I say this fear or when they bash people public or whatever it is, anything that's like, oh, they're doing that, or anything that's taught, or you voodoo, anything that's taught, even the school of Satan, right? Whatever that was, right? How we all reacted to it when we hear the word Satan. Let's look into it and see. It's nothing to be afraid of in 2024. We can't be afraid of an idea.
But Brother Ryan, you said it earlier. When you I'm a scholar, right? I'm a scientist. I'm a researcher. When I program you to hate your brother and hate your sister, that's what you're going to do. You're going to be negative out of the gate. And so, I had to become born again, literally to recognize that how I was cultivated in the city of Memphis to be able to say, to be about that pimping, man, to be in an exploitative manner, right? That was destructive, right? It cultivated me to be into criminality, right? It was cultivating me to be a dog, right? And not a God, right? And so for young people, they look for opportunities to be engaged, right? And so if the drug dealer is the biggest employer in your community, who gonna have the power?
You already know. And that's been what's been going on right now, right? That's who has control of the youth, of our youth right now.
Right. But let's look at it. Let's look at people like Fred Hampton, right? And all these great leaders during the 1930s and in your community, your Black, unapologetically powerful pastor, your doctors, your lawyers, your sanitation workers, when they were, providing, they was producing in their community, right? They had their jobs. They were the leaders, right? You're gonna always have folk hustling and shooting dice. That's just the beauty of the souls, right?
It's gonna be that, right.
But overarching narrative, right? In America, we romanticize criminality in America. Everybody loved Godfathers. Everybody.
Bonnie and Clyde. I said the same thing, Dr. Brooks. I'm like, when is it good? When is it bad? Ocean's 11, heist movies.
But America is a hypocrite, right? And it gets people who have been enculturated for criminality and wonder why, if you go down to 201 Poplar, it's programmed to be like that, right? But until you get quality schools and we get back to our families, because our families are so dysfunctional, our families are so broken. Yes, our churches are not beyond critique. They lost their way, they lost their status, they lost their focus. Civil rights organization, we lost our focus. That's why, as a member of the NAACP, we're having a drive to resurrect and revive it. We must revive every platform that our ancestors left for us. Because this is really about repairing. This is about reparations. This is about economic injustice. This is about making sure that those people who say they want to serve and protect us, is that we put them there. Because we, the people of the United States, we, the people of Memphis, in order to form a more perfect union, we got to be accountable. We got to be responsible. We can't be flogging like, we doing something and we not voting, right?
Activity. No, man, these are you how we rock. You know what's up. We know what we're trying to do. Baby. Right? We've been taught. You know what I'm saying. I want to say this. I want to touch on this too. That you and I talked about this in another conversation that we had between each other, right? Off there. That remember we were like on the foundation of gangs was first the Panthers, right? All right. Previous to the Panthers. Where did the Panthers come from? Remember, we talked about this. It all started in the church, right? And I just think that all of those aspects of us, right? The church, the Panthers, and even the gang members, that's a reflection of the Black community. It's not, those things aren't bad. It's just the guidance of it. They're misguided, and some people got lost along the way.
It's the co-opting of it. Where you change the leadership. So if you go in, I was pastoring in Chicago, and so I'm quite familiar with gangster disciples and black and BDs and vice lords and folk and all that. I'm quite familiar with Bloods and Crips. All of it has its roots in African Bloods Brotherhood. It has roots in these old churches, right? As these deacons that y'all grandfathers in who built churches and built banks and built schools and built communities. They had, particularly for men, that they had a code of ethics. They had some accountability. They said, you're going to get a checkup from your neck up, and these are the things you're going to have to master. What does it mean to be a disciple, right? What does it mean to follow the law? What does it mean to love my wife? What it means to be responsible for my children? What does it mean to be a man? So it was ultimately about manhood development. And so men have to take on economic development, right? Man, woman, and child. So you got to build and do for yourself, right? And you build your community. That's where we came from. But that was a threat to white supremacy. That's why they nicked so many black men, particularly in the South. And so a lot of those movements in industrialized New York, industrialized Chicago, where you had a lot of these Black Power youth organizations, they ain't going down here in Memphis because we still had a mentality, a sharecroppers mentality, where when I came back to Memphis, I went down and got ready to look for me to buy a loft downtown, right? And the woman was like, you don't supposed to be buying down here. I'm like, I buy where I want to. This is for white folks. You automatically suggested and said, I don't supposed to live downtown. Now, you're supposed to do that, right? I went to Nashville to do some lobbying, and with a few older black men. And I'm looking at this white man, and I'm looking at him in the eye, and then I used to black men looking at him in the eye. So we still have, again, the remnants of Jim Crow, the remnants of of subjugation in our city that allows us not to negotiate from a place of power because we don't recognize the souls of black folk, and we still think voodoo is bad.
Yeah, see, that goes back to it. Hey, I love that rapper, right? Goes back to it, just an understanding, right? And so what are your thoughts about the police? I know you touched on it briefly, but what are your thoughts about the police department being 54% black and 47% white, and when white people are only 24% of Memphis, right? And we're 64 point. How does that translate? And that's something I was touching on, like police our own community. We need our own. And we stopped being police officers and wanted to be firemen, wanted to be these things, right? Now we have those who aren't from our area, aren't in our own area, in our own community. What are your thoughts about that, Doctor?
Man, when I was in third grade at Guthrie Elementary, fifth grade at Guthrie Elementary in Corn and all this, I had friends. Some of us wanted to be truck drivers. Some of us wanted to be police officers. One of us wanted to be fire departments, right? Immediately, the curriculum needs to be able to shape us to be able to make an impact within our community, right? We started, condition that the police is bad, right? We don't see the role of the lens of the police. So, in other communities, I guarantee you that 47% of white officers, they live in Arkansas,
right?
Mississippi, they live in all other places because, again, we have been taught that we got to wait really on white folks to save us because white is right and black is voodoo, right?
Right,
so
right.
It still ultimately comes down to how we see ourselves. And as Naeem Akbar talks about the chains and images of psychological slavery that continues to retard our social, emotional, and psychological development, right, when it comes to policing our own. We always think we need somebody to police us, but white folks have always put in place that we need to be policed
by them.
We wild out by
right by
these.
them, right?
But we always had a foreman's, right, who can basically manage not just the house Negro and not just the field Negro. I got a whole essay on the porch Negro. That's who y'all need to be afraid of. And so that's Malcolm X's law speech, right? And so when we don't have our own economic interest, somebody will give it to us, right? But I'm sure that Mayor Paul Young is saying, hey, I'm keeping C.J. Davis. I'm keeping C.J. Davis for the interest of the growth and development of his city. Because there is no way, and some to say that she had 2 years, but, I've been a leader of a multi-million-dollar organization. I've been in a leader where you have to go in and learn the culture and people would turn on you. Some of the city council would ask, well, why do people don't like you? I'm like, why they ask that question, right? Because I do know as a leader, 50% of the people gonna love me, 50% of the people gonna hate me. That's the reality of leadership and change and transformation. And so maybe C.J. Davis was tiptoeing through the tulips when she or being overly aggressive with it, but right now she's holding folk accountable. And as you said it, sometimes you just can't want the bag, you gotta want to serve. Right. Pastoring is about serving. It ain't about the bag, right? So all these public jobs ain't about money. It's about service, right? And so, we got to revisit that. This is about Paul's young success. And, I understand the decision. I understand it, but, you can go get the best and the brightest from out of the city or somebody from the city. It's not going to change Memphis. Right. Because the economics and the education of Memphis has not changed.
Right. Is that what would be Paul Young can influence it? But that's up to us though, right? What we're doing right here, right now, ultimately.
Well, I've met with Paul, and Mayor Young sees what needs to be done because he's from these streets. Right. He knows the people, he knows the family. But the question is, if you don't invest in support, you saying to him, sell out. So he's ultimately got to follow the interests of those who are also 47, also might be the minority. And it's interesting that Paul said that Memphis is the only national city that is the majority minority, right? That's powerful. Right, powerful when you say right now, suburbs or Murfreesboro and Clarksville are increasing. They're increasing because of Nashville. Right. And we see the explosion in the economics of Nashville, but Memphis still is Tennessee, right? Memphis used to be the economic hub. Why isn't it? It's still. We're on the Mississippi River, right? We on the chief economic, we are the Mid-South Distribution Center. Should be the labor, logistics, and transportation.
You're right. See, you know what? Powers that be also understand that. That's why we're going through this transformation right now, right? Gentrification right before our eyes, but many of us don't understand that, hey, man, this is gold. This is the land of milk and honey. Like the number one rule of business I was taught, I was going to say, location, right? And where we sit, right, geographically is a gold mine. Right. And they understand that. So let Nashville do this and let this decrease while we're going to play in Nashville. But ultimately, we know what FedEx Hub started. We know what FedEx operates out of for a reason. It ain't barbecue and BB King blues. It's, it's money, right? It's finances, right? Go ahead.
Right. Right, but that's been, but Memphis always had, again, an exploitative culture, right? And until we deal with justice for Thomas Moss and Calvin McDowell and the People's Groceries lynching, Memphis is not going to be the same. The truth of the matter is, I guarantee you, go back and do a historiography on Pitt Hyde and Fred Smith, and actually say where they were, what was their curriculum being taught when they were in elementary school, right?
Right.
So they were already think to be players,
right,
in the academics of this city, right?
Right.
You don't just say, okay, I'm going to become a logistics and transportation hub. I'm just going to do this, right? It's instilled and cultivated in them. So we got to look at the curriculum. We got to look at what do we want our children in the 3rd grade in Memphis to know and be able to do. Right now, we can't even get together on who's going to want to be superintendent, right? Because our school board is really governing us. But if we don't dictate who goes to our school board, who goes to our executive branch, the legislative branch, and Lord help us on the judiciary side, we're going to be doomed for failure, and people going to take over. Everything in Memphis, everything in the nation is about, I'm taking over, right? The whole issue we're dealing with in Israel right now is about who's saying this is mine now, right? Scutterfield ain't Scutterfield. Hurt Village ain't Hurt Village no more.
Right.
More honest, those are communities I knew. When I grew up, man, Hickory Hill was a different kind of community.
Hickory Hood now.
Man, look, when, in Cordova and Germantown, we ain't know nothing about that, right? White Haven was our flagship. White Haven was our air.
Doctor, I try to tell them, brother. Listen, I've been telling them, how long before Cordova is South Memphis? Or White Haven, when I came up, East Memphis and White Haven, like you said, were prominent, nice neighborhoods, right? Deemed the better neighborhoods of Memphis. Right, if we keep leaving, they're eventually going to end up the same way as White Haven or these neighborhoods, BHG, what we call it right now, right? What are your thoughts on that?
Right. Well, you got to be careful with that, because there it goes back to the voodoo thing, right? Because anytime there's a high concentration of Black folk, the property's going to decrease, even if they're higher income Blacks, right?
Really?
The challenge with Memphis is everybody's a baller, everybody is wealthy, but you work for the government, right? And so you can't be a civil servant talking about you drive an economy and you work for the government. So as long as most of your people working for the government or FedEx, that's problematic. We go to Atlanta, and Memphis is Atlanta. We was Atlanta before Atlanta was Atlanta.
Right.
They fostered enterprise. They fostered small business development, right? Nashville's fostered small business development. They had in Memphis and even in Nashville, they had high concentration of schools and high concentration of Black schools, right? I love Lemoyne on college. Lemoyne, the Black community is going to only be as valuable as the Black institution, right?
Yes.
Memphis, Lemoyne has been a staple of Memphis. It is the oldest institution in Memphis. Nobody knows about it. And nobody's invested in it, because we do not talk about it, right? And so when we do not understand that and know that, right, we will cheapen ourselves. Somebody put PG County. PG County is known as the richest county of Black folk, but their prices are still not comparable.
Is that DC?
Right outside of DC. But if you go to Silver Spring, you go to other counties that are more white affluent, their prices are so valuable. Their rate doesn't go up. So we got to deal with not white flight, because my mom, bless her heart, she said, no, I'm buying a house in Frazier. We bought a house in Frazier, and all these little Black mamas would build buying these houses in Frazier. And when you look at that year, I think it was 1978, it was the highest concentration of young Black women and Black families buying their houses in Memphis, right? And white flight started to occur, right? And so, these mothers, some of our mamas worked at International Harvester, Humpco, all these other companies. And then, the high upper class Black folk may live out in White Haven, where those white folks were. So it's white flight, then Black flight, right? And so now, a lot of educational policies, a lot of other policies are so impactful. So my point simply is stuff that folk did when it comes to policy under Dick Hackett when I was in school. We're dealing with the results of it right now. Right? And everybody talking about Mayor Harrington, right? This ain't even beyond Mayor Harrington. Until, as Booker T. Washington told W.E. Du Bois in The Souls of Black Folks, until there is some economic development and some self-economic reliance to create our own economy, we're going to always be asking folks for some political and social rights. And it don't matter who you got for mayor, chief of your police, and because in this, we had in the 60s all these Black mayors. One of the greatest, Marion Barry, who was one of my mentors in DC.
Oh, okay.
All these, you know, but just because you're the black man don't mean you're gonna leverage your power,
Right.
especially your folk not voting.
with you. They not this. You're there. You just a face card, bro. You can't. You have no power, right?
You have no power.
Power's always in the people, with the people. I try to tell them, like, we the one. They need our vote. They need our money. They need our tax dollars, right? Ultimately.
Well. Again, so we're gonna our tax. See, again, we don't understand finances, right?
Yeah.
Our interests, right? See, we gotta take ownership of our citizenry. And that's the whole point of Martin Luther King. That's why he was killed. He was saying, "Hey, look, you know, we've done this already, right? We've already built our communities, right? Before that was interesting. Now, people like to talk about Black Wall Street. I don't like to call it Black Wall Street. It's Greenwood. It was in Tulsa, Oklahoma. You know where they were before Tulsa, Oklahoma? They were right here in Memphis. And it was a direct result of the lynchings of Moss. And they said, get up out of here because Wells, they're going to destroy Black economic development.
That's right.
So we've been focused on economic power, productivity, and our own industrialization.
Right.
In Haywood County, we had our own wood mills, and we've been doing all our stuff. When the Confederates lost, we said, "Man, we're taking this land. We're taking it. We're gonna build our own houses." But hey, you gain the world, you lost your soul, and you got yourself you got Negro politicians, but you ain't got no power.
That's the problem, man. That's why we're looking like, how can we be in the position that we're in right now in 2024 when we got so many? And then I'm in certain groups that aren't about Black. They aren't Black groups. Because I want to know what America thinks about what we have going on, right? And a lot of it's, well, you have a Black mayor, you have this, you have, you have the finances you need. Why can't you all get it together? And we ultimately know, even if we do have it together, you're not going to show us. You're not going to show us in that light. That's how I feel. Many of us do have it. But the idea and the image is that they're going to keep pumping this stuff on the news with somebody riding around airways cutting donuts, which we should know better than that, but that's the only thing being promoted. The image is not.
But check this out, Brother Ryan, because this is Memphis Over Bull, right? You know, I want you to do this Sunday and this Saturday. You go around Memphis. And because you see, the problem is with Black folk, we've taken on this whole ideal of American exceptionalism and individualism, right? Where other groups really are still leveraging their own collective power. And they leverage their collective power by their own moral and character ethics, right? So go to the white churches, right? You'll see that they feel. Go to the Korean churches, go to the mosques, go to those faith institutions, go to them, and I guarantee you, go to the synagogue on Saturday, and I guarantee you the lots are full because they understand accountability.
Right.
They understand ethnic and culture self-reliance. People like to talk about the Hispanics and the Latinos. They coming in and they are sacrificing. Y'all talking about it. They paying, getting cheap labor, but they build and they base. They ain't concerned about no politics. They concerned about basic livelihood. You see where I'm going?
Yes.
And so people are dealing with, the foolery and the coonery of not knowing who we are because we see voodoo when we see us. We see witchcraft. We see self-hatred. We see manipulation. We see exploitation. We see hustling. And until we get back to a moral ethic, until we get back to some accountability, we will continue to be in this place where we have a culture of cannibalism, right? And that cannibalism and the culture of scarcity, what does cannibals do? They eat each other.
Right.
I'm on the right show. This is Memphis Over Bull, right?
Hey, call it out, brother. You know what we do. This is, by the way, this is just the beginning, man. I know I'm about to, went a little over, but I don't care, man, because we needed all of that, doctor. We need to hear every bit of that. And this is what we're pushing, you all. Myself, Dr. Brooks, we have a lot of things that we're coming with for our community, for our image. Like he says, I'm media, he's media. We play our parts in this. I don't wear as many hats as the doctor, but I wear a few.
We're building our own school, we're building our own university right here in North Memphis on Decatur Street. And so from pre-K all the way to 16, university. We're building to make sure you have knowledge yourself, know how to do for yourself, and really understanding how to mine your own business, the gifts that God has given you to be able to build our economy, to build our homes. Eco comes from the Latin and Greek word, which means home. Did you know that? Bethel means home, right? So we got to get back to home. We got to get back to our families. We got to get back to our community, because in America right now, they are saying that Black folks, you are prisoners of history. And right now, there are no more group politics. We are taking away affirmative action. You've already saw that.
Yeah, they've done that. They've done it.
Be Wells in your schools in Tennessee. We will teach it at the school here on Decatur Street. We will teach Martin Luther King. And so until we do that, we will continue to be at the hands of somebody else with no power. But God created us to have power.
Man, you better know it. Black is beautiful, and we got that. Man, that's, hey, Dr. Brooks. Also, y'all check him out. WLOK, right? Sundays, Mondays, 6 p.m. He has a show. He's great, very influential.
Praise be to God. Praise be to God.
Praise be to God, the Most High, brother.
Come on, you preaching, brother, right?
Yeah, don't get me started now. All right, then. So, y'all, you know, make sure you check us out. We'll be coming back. And Dr. Brooks, he'll be back. I don't know what day, but guarantee you he will be back, because he is down with the mob. Like he says, it's Memphis over Bull. And we're trying to fix a lot of things in the community. As you all can hear, that was just a pinch, a tip of the iceberg, man. There's so much more that we have coming for you all 2024. And I want to reiterate what he says, Mayor Paul Young, I'm sorry. You have our full support, brother. We wish you the best. And this is Mayor of the people. You are from our city. You are our people. Got much love for you, brother. Until we speak again, as we all know. Hey, it is Memphis over Bull every Wednesday, 6 p.m. We'll see y'all next week. Thank you for watching. We out.
Peace.